Now, one presumes the current mayor thinks this could be one of his strongest legacies, making the city genuinely cycle-friendly. After his first so-called cycle superhighways ran into trouble, there are now plans for alternative versions which segregate cyclists from other traffic. But the details and the timetable of the consultation on them, which ends next week, have steered the mayor into the path of some influential and, in some cases, rather irate opponents. BBC London's transport correspondent Tom Edwards has this special report.
This is where the mayor's flagship cycle route will go. At the moment, as we found out, it's busy, crowded and horrible to cycle along. This is where the centrepiece of the mayor's cycling revolution could be, running from Hyde Park all the way up to Tower Hill. There could be segregated, separate cycle lanes for cyclists to try and make it safer, but these will be big changes for the capital streets. Transport for London says that bikes now make up 24% of rush hour traffic. This is what the route will look like. Junctions will be rebuilt, copying Dutch road designs. Campaigners say the reallocation of road space is badly needed.
On the mayor's first term, he promised to do something to improve the safety for cycling. What he ended up doing was delivering a really below-par solution. It was just paint on the ground. People were being killed on those new cycle lanes. He's kind of come around to understand he has to change it. He has to deliver it now. It's been years in the making.
The streets of London.
After protests, these changes were promised by all of the main candidates before the last mayoral elections. This is the route of the east-west cycle superhighway. It'll go from Hyde Park past Parliament to Tower Hill, and many large London companies are backing the lanes.
I cycle to work every day, and battling it out with buses, with lorries, it's risky, frankly. We're about to move our business to Tower Hill. We'll be right on this cycleway. It'll be a brilliant way of people getting quickly to their clients in Westminster and elsewhere.
These plans, though, aren't being given a smooth ride. There are concerns over congestion and accusations that they're all being railroaded through to create a political legacy for the mayor, and that the consultation isn't long enough.
This is the last hurrah of a failed mayor. He's desperate to get this scheme in before he goes.
Those against the changes say they're considering a legal challenge. If he gets given the green light?
If this scheme gets given the green light the way it is, without an air quality impact assessment, without proper consultation, this consultation's flawed and is rushed, we'll certainly be looking at taking a judicial review out against TfL to prevent them from going ahead with this disastrous scheme for London.
TfL says journey times won't change much on the bike route itself, but you could see this. It was last used during the Olympics. Traffic is held back in outer London, and the passenger group Travel Watch has concerns if it's done permanently. Business groups say they aren't anti-cycling, but say there's a lack of detail.
It's not just the impacts on roads like this itself, although you can see these are heavily used at all times of day. It's also on the roads approaching it and leaving it. What impact is it going to have on those routes? Is traffic going to be held back for longer?
18 months ago, the mayor said his vision was an east-west cycle superhighway, and then we had 18 months of not very much information, and now we've got a scheme which hasn't been properly thought through. We'd like to have an open dialogue now with Transport for London and the mayor and look at a solution that's going to work for everybody.
So how will the mayor balance the conflicting demands for London's streets? He says nothing's set in stone.
A great city has got to do big things for cycling, but you can't be too punitive on motorists, and you can't make people wait too long at either end of London. In the end, everybody's got to get to work. Everybody's got a right to see their family. You've got to have compromises.
Other cities are watching closely in a fight for the capital streets and who they're built for in the future.
Tom Edwards reporting there. The Mayor's Cycling Commissioner, Andrew Gilligan, is here. Welcome to you. How have you managed to offend the Mayor's, key constituency, his die-hard allies in the city, Canary Wharf and so on?
We had absolutely overwhelming support for this from businesses in London. Rothschilds came in support just the other day, Deloitte's, Unilever. These businesses are all in the city and they all love it.
So
there is only one business in the city, there's only one business that's come out against it, and you had them in your piece, Canary Wharf.
Yeah, and the City Corporation as well, though, who kind of speaks for them. And
The City Corporation are in favour in principle. They've raised a couple of particular points about pedestrians, which we think we can deal with.
Yeah, pedestrians and safety going through junctions and so on. At the moment, as things stand, they will not support these policies until you give them more guarantees.
The objections they've got about junctions are that the junctions aren't safe enough, and I can't quite understand why that is, because actually we've had 2 people killed at one of the junctions in the city in the last 6 months alone.
Yeah,
that junction is going to be given
Ludgate Circus. If you're talking about that, but they'll say, but they know that as well, and they're saying that what you're doing is not going to make it any safer.
That junction is going to be given
a
completely segregated, protected lane, and I can be absolutely certain that at least one of those people would not have died.
So will it be pedestrians instead that get injured and hurt?
No, there are going to be 7,000.
Because they'll have less time to get across, and you're doing staggered across that.
That's again untrue. There are 23 new crossings for pedestrians, and there's going to be 7,000 square metres of extra space for pedestrians. So the city's wrong about that.
But these people. So are you saying that are their concerns not justified there? Because Canary Wharf and the city do share the broad point. They say, and the city say this quite clearly in their submission to you, it is heavily biased towards the cyclists at the moment.
Well, it is a cycle scheme, of course. So, yeah. But it is actually.
But you're responsible for all road users, and you have to ensure the safety of all road users, and they're not. They're not making that point. They're saying that when you're looking at changes, you are being biased towards the cyclist in the changes you're putting in.
It will benefit almost everybody who travels in London, because it will have the capacity for 6,000 people an hour, the 2 routes. That's the equivalent of 82 extra buses an hour, full buses, or 10 packed full train loads, full and standing train loads on the tube. And every single person who cycles is a person who isn't taking up space on the bus, isn't taking up space on the tube, isn't taking up space on the road. So it will not just be biased towards cyclists.
But do you know that? And the Canary Wharf and the City Corporation, they absolutely support the principle, and everyone wants to see a healthy city. You know that's true, but it's not just the city, is it? It's or Canary Wharf. It's Travel Watch. It's the main passenger group. They feel, A, it will have an impact on bus times, on public transport times, which will drive people away from using that form of transport. And this crucial thing, you're going to stack up congestion and traffic problems in outer London, because you're going to be doing stuff to the traffic.
Let me give you the numbers, Tim. We've had 14,000 responses to the consultation. It's just finished. 80% of them in favour. There was an opinion poll conducted by YouGov. 63% in favour, even if it did slow down traffic.
Might that be because they just don't know the details? Because you haven't given, like Travel Watch Travel Watch say you haven't shown the impact it's going to have on lots of other bus routes. You've just done it on the focus around the...
No, that's not true.
What they say.
We published a huge table showing the impacts on all the bus routes, and what it shows is the impacts on the bus routes are nearly always, not entirely always, but nearly always very modest.
Why don't
and in many cases the buses are faster, because we're giving, at Lancaster Gate for instance, we're not making them go around the gerator anymore. We're taking out the gerator at Lancaster Gate.
You know this point about gating, though, that you're going to somehow you're going to make traffic lights wait longer outside and outer London areas. Why don't you do that first? Let's see how it works, and then see whether we could put a cycle lane in afterwards.
The only place where there's going to be any kind of really significant delay is in the approach on the highway from East London. And we're working with Canary Wharf. We've got concerns about that to see what we can do to bring that down. But everywhere else, the delays are going to be modest.
Richard Ottaway, let's bring you in here. You know, probably you're pro-cycling and whatever. That's not the point. You must have seen what's going on here and the concerns with the speed. Don't you share those concerns?
Well, first of all, I mean, no one can argue against this. It's a great idea for London, for cyclists.
Which is why I said that for you.
And I imagine the 14,000 people who have responded were all cyclists. But out of a population of 8 million, that's not very many. I think my reservation here, however, is the impact it's got on the motorist. If you're going to whack it onto a road, it means there's less space for the motorist, it's going to lead to more congestion. And these figures, which no doubt have been produced by traffic consultants, we've seen them all down in Croydon when there's changes, it's 10 times worse than they recommend. Second point is it's another central London issue. What about the cyclists of Croydon? Don't they deserve some effort and support?
And I'm going to bring you in on that in a minute, Andrew. But Heidi, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's actually very exciting. The idea that cyclists will have genuinely segregated lanes for the first time in London is something.
And no
that's
reservations there, no concerns about the impact it's going to have on traffic and potentially pedestrians, because we're taking space from them.
Well, I think that where concerns have been expressed, I think Andrew said that they'll be looking to mitigate the negative impacts. I think that actually we've got to take some difficult decisions really about whether we want London to be a city for cyclists and of cyclists.
Final point from you, Andrew, when you look back at this really, was there you ballsed it up in terms of the consultation and they hadn't trusted you because of that, because you hadn't given them all the traffic data at the beginning of the consultation?
I disagree with that.
But do you accept that perhaps the speed at which you're trying to push this through as well, they are thinking here, hang on a second, we're suspicious. This guy's a campaigner, you're not a traffic planner.
We announced this, it's not been planned by me, it's been planned by professional traffic planners at Transport for London, exhaustively I might add. And we announced a scheme in March 2013, it's going to be completed in March 2016. Only in Britain could a three-year delivery of something relatively simple like this be described as rushing it through.
And you're going to look at this consultation and you are going to pick up little things where necessary. Final word, we're running out of time.
We are very keen to work with people who've got concerns and objections about specific aspects of the scheme, but the fact is that 80% of journeys to and within central London are not made by car, and it's about time we should reshape the road network to reflect the reality of how the roads are actually used. It's
an ongoing journey. You know we'll have you back in the weeks and months ahead to see how it's going. Andrew Gilligan, thanks very much indeed.